So we saw that love it was something that was commanded of old, and now it has been refreshed. It's been renewed. It's new in its quality, in its character. So now we want to look at one more thing as we move on and journey forward. In verse 7 again, he tells us there are three new love is new in three ways. Let's look at it that way. And I believe this is a focus that came from Warren Worsby. Love being new in three different ways. So it's new again in its emphasis. The mark of Christ is love. By this will all men know that you are my disciples and that you have love for one another. So the law indeed had governed and measured our commitment to God. But now we're measured by love being our motive. We're measured by our love for God. So let's hold on to that. It's unique because love is the new model. It's not about what you do. But before with Judaism, they had the law, and it was about that you look good and you have to do all of these things and you have to follow it. As long as you were looking good to the public, you had it made. As long as you look like you were on the straight and narrow, you a good person. Oh man, they're really a good believer. Well, man looks on the outside. You can fool folk on the outside. God looks at the heart. He's looking at the motive of what's going on the inside. And so here, we find out that everything has to be motivated by our love for God and our love for our fellow man. And so remember what Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the first few verses. He said, I'm going to show you a more excellent way. He said, look, you can say that you can speak all kind of languages. You can have all prophecies. You can do all this stuff. He said, you can give your body to be burned. And, folk accommodate you and give you all these trophies and medals. He say, but if you don't have love, it's all for nothing. And then he goes on to lay out what love is: patient, kind, long suffering. But he says that it doesn't matter what you do. It don't matter how many certificates you have. It doesn't matter how many degrees you have. It doesn't matter who knows your name. It doesn't matter how many names your building, how many buildings your name is on. None of that matters. John said what matters is your love. It's all that matters. He said everything else, if it's done without love, it's a clanging cymbal. It's just a bunch of noise. He said you got to have love. So love now has, number one, a new emphasis. The next is love. It is new in its example of love. So Christ, he embodies and exemplifies love. Jesus lived in the spirit of love. You remember the woman that was caught in the act of adultery? Yeah, there was a lot of haters and a lot of hate that had surrounded her, ready to stone her, ready to put her to death. And even in their hate and in their dislike for Christ, wanting to put him in between a rock and a hard place to cause them to either to compliment her sin or to condemn her to death, Jesus didn't fall for it. Love won the day. Again, taking us to Paul in 1 Corinthians 13 when he says love never fails. And so Jesus, in his love, in his compassion, he disbanded the group. He told them, those of you that haven't sinned, cast the first stone. Bible said one by one, from the oldest to the youngest, that stones began dropping. But Jesus wrote on the ground. They began to disband their little hate group. Listen, Jesus, things that he did. How many times in the Bible did we hear the term, and Jesus was moved with compassion? Next, you have the woman at the well. Jesus takes time to get through all of the mess that she has in her life, all of the stuff that she's dealing with. Love motivated him to help reach her and to bring her and draw her in. And even with just a request from water at a well, she found herself in love with a man that knew everything about her and was willing to love her in spite of. we find Jesus, John, everything he did was motivated, even Calvary, motivated by his love. And so we have the example of love. It's new in its example. What Jesus did on Calvary, it's new. It had never been done before. Then you have, it's new in its experience. And that's what you and I experience. A Christian that walks in the light and fellowship with God will also love and have fellowship with the family of God. And I want to talk about that just for a second. The Bible says how good and pleasant it is for the brethren to dwell together in unity. Do you know that it pleases God and makes God happy when his people come together and unify as a body of Christ? And I want to personally let you know, I'm utilizing social media right now. I love social media. But there's certain things that social media cannot replace. Social media, it can't replace a brother in the church sharing one of his experiences that he's gone through that resonates with me and encourages me. It can't replace a pat on the back and say, son, you're doing a good job. It can't replace that. It can't replace someone sharing their testimony and me, that look of affirmation that you have that, yes, I'm going to get through whatever it is I'm going through. It cannot replace someone encouraging me or someone, you can't replace certain things. And, I love social media. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful, but it was never meant to replace the human touch. It was never meant to replace the sound and the unique sound of the human voice. And to be in the presence of humanity, even during this COVID crisis that, you have folk that get up, go out their house and go for a drive. They ain't got to go nowhere. They just go for a drive just because they want to see somebody other than themselves or people that are in their family. They just want to see people. There are people that even drive, and they drive with the radio on in their vehicles. And we come to find out that though they're driving with the radio on, they're not really listening to it. They can't tell you anything that the radio host has said. They're driving, and we found out through some studies, and they found out that the reason people do this is that to hear another voice in the car is the fear of loneliness. To hear another voice in the car, even if it's on the radio, reminds us that we are not alone. And that's what the church is. The church is to remind you that even in this Christian life, even in this Christian walk, you are not alone. Even in our mission that we have to complete together, even in our witnessing that we do together, even in our missions that we serve together, it's a reminder that I need you and you need me, and together we are the church. We need each other to survive. Binding God's people together. I'll make one more point, and then I'll take a pause here. Love cannot be mere talk. Love cannot simply be mere talk. A declaration without activation is only an exaggeration of communication. A declaration without activation is only an exaggeration of our communication. Love must be lived. Love must be in our actions. He commanded us to love. You command someone to do something, to love. And so we'll take a pause there, and we'll come back and get after it.